Hi everyone, welcome to the Time Traveler's Wardrobe. Today we're doing a tutorial on hand sewing eyelets for your historical garments. You can see here I've got some of the tools that we'll need today. So we've got needle, you can use any size you'd like. As long as it's sharp, I use a size 9 betweens. If you know any quilting, you've probably heard of that one size as well. It is quite small, but you can use whatever size is comfortable for you. I've got my thimble, I use a leather thimble, which is right here. We'll need some thread, we'll need an awl, and we'll need some scissors today. So let's get started. The piece I'm working on here today is actually the sleeve of a new kirtle ready for this season's medieval events. Here in Australia we've got a few coming up this year, but as you can see I've got 4 eyelets to do on each side here, so there's 4 on that side, 4 on the other. I've already done these 4 so you can see what they look like there. I'll hold them up a bit closer so you can see how close it is. But I'll turn back to this side. First thing we need to do with them is mark out where we want our eyelet. In this case I've done them 3/4 of an inch in from the edge, and it's lined up with the ones on the other side so that you can easily lace everything up afterwards. I'm going to work on the end one here. So this one here, where I've marked it, I have then gone and punched my hole with my awl, pushed it a fair way through to make a nice big hole in there. So that's there ready to go. We may need to re-punch it later on just to make sure that the hole is open sufficiently. Next thing we'll need is our thread. I get quite a long thread. I'm just used to working with a long thread. I would say at least a fair distance. And I'm just using a Gutermann Sew All thread here today, in a roughly matching colour. So I will thread my needle. This one has extremely small, I don't know if you can see it there, very, very tiny eye on that one. If I look closely, fingers crossed, I can get this threaded fairly easily. Flatten down the end, look over the top of my glasses, and this one's got a very tiny eye on it, so it's not the easiest to grab. There it is. So I pull that through, grab both ends from that. So we don't get it caught on the edge of the fabric. Now I do what's called a kissing knot. This is one I learnt from my mum many years ago. It might be easier to see over the lighter colour. Let's do this over the white so you can see a bit easier. Grab the needle at the bottom, at the eye end, between your index finger and thumb of your left hand, especially if you're right-handed. Grab the very end of the threads with your right hand, put the threads across the top of the needle and clamp that between those 2 fingers. Wrap it round the needle 3-4 times. Grab those wound bits and slide it down your thread all the way to the bottom, and that forms a little knot at the bottom. Sorry, I'm not very good at lining this up yet, am I? So there you go, little knot. So from that, make sure you put your thimble on around the right way so that you don't hurt your finger. I do a lot of hand sewing, so I use my thimble a lot. I think this is about the 3rd iteration of these. This is just made from suede, hand stitched. This was a lighter colour when I made it. It's now got quite dark from the stitching. So to actually do the eyelet, come to the back of your eyelet. The easiest, the way I start, is to feed the needle in between the two layers. So in this case I've got an outer layer and I've got a lining, or a facing, as sometimes in this case. Feed it in a little way and come up through the back. Don't worry about your end sticking out. We will actually weave that through as we go. From that we put our needle through to the front, and we just do a row of running stitch around that hole just to anchor it. So all the way around. Hold it up a bit higher so you can see a bit easier. Just to anchor it around that hole. I'll zoom in a little bit better so you can see it easier. There we go. So I'm just doing little stitches. You can keep an eye on how far you are out from the back as well. Make sure you're not too far out. Keep an eye on the front at the same time. You can see the little orange stitches there. Just make sure your previous thread has come through successfully. You haven't got any weird knots in the thread like this one seems to have now got. There we go. Got itself tangled on me. There we go. Problem solved. We'll keep going around. Sometimes your thread can get caught. I haven't waxed this thread this time, simply because this is just a standard polyester sewing thread. If I was using linen or cotton thread, then I would absolutely run it through my block of beeswax. I get beeswax from a friend of mine and I turn it into little blocks. I've got a slab of beeswax that I can ready for doing that, but I do have some available in the shop, especially at the medieval events when we have them coming up soon. As you can see, we're almost all the way around. Now I've found, oops, oh, we got another knot. Where have we got another knot? Okay, so I've come all the way around. You can see how it bunches up quite easily. That's just, sometimes you have to let your needle hang to unwind it. So we've gone all the way around there with our anchor stitches. You can see that okay. And what I'm going to do is come up, back up through to the front. Don't lose your thimble. One keeps sliding off. Make sure we're not tangled. Okay. Now I'm just going to turn this around a fraction. It's easy if it's small enough, you can turn your fabric around as you go. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, so let me zoom in just a little bit further so you can see it a lot closer. So you can see that I've got my anchor stitches around the edge of the hole there. At this point I often grab my awl again, oops, there we are, and re-poke that hole just to make sure that it stays open. We've got our thread coming out through to the top. Now the way I've been doing it, you push it down through the big hole and just come out next to where your threads come out. and then just pull it through. And we're going to do that, pull it tight. We're going to do that all the way around this eyelet. So I'll keep going there. Don't worry about it being ridiculously neat. They never were. Now some people will do them quite far apart, the stitches. I like to do mine quite close together so that it's a solid eye. So through the middle, up to the side there again, just outside of those anchor stitches. Yeah, aim for just the outside edge here of the anchor stitches, just so that they are caught within the stitch. Oops, my big hands. Pull it tight, and you turn as you go. So in the middle hole, up through the side, grab your needle, pull it tight. I'm just going to keep going around here. I'm doing this in real time. I can do these reasonably quickly now that I've done quite a few of them. I'll zoom back out a little bit so that my fingers aren't massive for you again. You may be able to hear my dog snoring in the background, I'm not sure. We'll test that out shortly. This is very raw footage. One day I'll learn how to edit properly and all the rest, but for now we are very, very raw, and we'll keep going with that. I prefer the raw live footage. As you can see, we're forming a ring around the hole. Some places used to, if they were doing it as a needed extra strength, you could put a little metal ring on that and sew over the metal ring as well. You can also, if you're putting in metal eyelets, you could also overstitch them in the same way to keep them extra anchored. I've actually taken to doing all my eyelets hand stitched now, rather than using the metal punch ones. I just think they look better, and they look more accurate for a lot of time periods. This dress is a 14th century kirtle. This piece of fabric, this is my underdress. This piece I've dyed, it was a cream calico, just a plain cotton calico. I have over dyed that with a bath of onion skins that I've done over the last few days. It's come out this interesting sort of yellowy orange colour, which I'm quite liking. This is going to be paired with an over, so the same pattern but different sleeves, as an overlayer in a purple, rather mottled purple, very rich coloured purple, and then I've got a surcoat that'll be going over that, that's a cream with a red motif on it. So look out for me at the events this year. I tend to go to the Gumaraka Medieval and Rare Trades Festival, the Barossa Medieval Fair, and the SA Viking Festival are my three that I do here. We're based in South Australia. The people I work for also run the Newcastle Medieval Fair, Newcastle Medieval Festival, I should get it right, Queen Anne Medieval Fair, and their brand new one that's coming up this year is the Hobart Medieval Fair. We've got those. This year I will also be at the Meadows Easter Fair, which is a 4-day event held here in Meadows, South Australia, up in the Adelaide Hills, which will be interesting. I've not done an Easter fair before. I probably won't be in my garb at that one, although I might. Might give it a run on one of the days at least to test it out. As you can see, there's the back of it forming as well. But front, we just keep going around. As you can see, I'm turning the fabric as I go, just so that I'm always working in the same direction. For a larger piece, this is probably a little bit harder to do, but and I'm finding this is getting caught on my on the page underneath it as well, my white page underneath it I've got there. It made it easier than the brown table. Just going to keep going. So I'm about halfway around now. If it looks like you need it, grab your awl again and repoke that hole. Sometimes it looks like it needs it. But in general, not necessarily. Now I know for this outfit there's 8 on each sleeve, and then I think there's going to be about 20 down the back of the dress itself, possibly a couple more. I'm going to do these ones are designed for a cross, so I cross that way. Oops, you can probably see it. So if I go that way, there'll be a cord that goes that way, and there'll be a cord that goes that way. So cross lacing on the dress, which I've got the lacing on the front of the dress on this one. It will be a spiral lacing, which will just be basically there. I might not be able to see that, but it's a spiral lacing. If you can look that, you can look those up there. There's lots of tutorials on how to and do the different types of lacing. I've chosen a front lacing on this outfit just to make it easier to get in and out of. I'm thinking for my purple overdress, I will probably potentially put the lacing on the sides instead of the front or the back, just for something a bit different, and to make it a bit more fitted as well. And then the surcoat over the top doesn't have lacing at all, it's just loose over the top. Put that out the way, turn it around a little bit further, try not to get the thread caught in underneath it, as is regularly. You're very lucky I haven't stabbed myself so far. It's quite common. I had my sewing machine attack me the other day. I've got a lovely, you probably can't see it on there, but there's a lovely new skin growing on the end of my finger from where my sewing machine attacked me. Oops, sorry if I keep going out of focus for you. Keep going here. I will zoom back in again in a sec when we get around to nearly the end. So that you can see that last few stitches in a better light. We're nearly back around to the front end of this. As you can see, it's now a solid eyelet going around there. I would actually say these are more sturdy and long wearing than the metal eyelets you get. They also are a bit more flexible, so your cord will actually, keep the hole open as you use it. Okay, so we're nearly back around to the front here. Let me zoom back in slightly. Where are we? There we are. So as you can see, I'm almost all the way back around to the front. If I go there, I probably need one more stitch, I think. Now for these last couple of stitches, I actually just drop it through the hole, grab it on the other side because it needs a little bit more finesse. Flip it over, let's flip it over, and just aim for the gap, and then flip it back and see how close I am. I'm fairly close, so there we go. So you can see my needle popping up through there, and we'll pull that through, and that's our eyelet there. I push it back through to the back again, and we flip this over because now we need to tie it off. Oops, where am I? There I am. Okay, so we were there. So if you hold the thread going in the direction where you just did that final stitch, I find if I feed my needle through a couple of the threads underneath, oops, grab it there. I'll try and grab it around here without ignore my weird looking fingers. Pull it almost tight, loop your needle if you can get it. Oh, sorry, let me get a bit closer. There we go. Okay, so pull your thread through that loop as if you're tying a knot, and then pull it tight. I always do a second knot. Sometimes I grab a couple of the threads either side of where you want your knot. Almost all the way through, back through that loop, hold it still and pull that tight, and to finish that off I weave the thread just underneath the lining, so between the lining and outer layer, bring it up over here just to embed that end into the thread there, and there's that's the back of our eyelet. So what I'll do, I can take my thimble off now. Oops. Right, there we go. What we can do, we just trim that thread off at that point. Put our needle away, off to the side. I put it in my pincushion. So if you look closely, that's what the back of one will look like. And if I flip it over, there's the front. Looks like a little sun ray here. There's definitely a hole through that. Oops, it's gone blurry again on me. There we go. There we go. So there we have an eyelet. If you're doing a whole row of them that are closer together, you can just run that thread from this one through to the next one and just keep going on the next one until you run out of thread. You can join threads in the middle of it. Make sure you come to the back and tie it off, and then the next one you start as if you're starting a whole new one right next to it and keep going around. So yeah, there's your eyelet, and I'm going to keep doing those. I've got another one and another one and another one yet to do, so and then this sleeve's ready to go. I'm thinking of putting some embroidery on this sleeve as well, just something that looks nice around those eyelets and around the point on this needle, on this sleeve. That is all I was going to show you for today. Have fun with your eyelet making in future. They do usually look really nice, nice and clean if you get them looking okay. It just takes practice. So I've done probably a couple of hundred of these now over several outfits, different colours, different materials. I mainly work with linen. But yeah, this has been the Time Traveller's Wardrobe. So yes, been the Time Traveller's Wardrobe, and we look forward to seeing you again sometime soon. Have a great day.